Well, a very, very, very warm welcome. Hi, guys. It's Cassim, and welcome to another episode of Journal Entries. I want to firstly start off by once again thanking you so much for watching. I want to take the time to just show my gratitude and thank you so much for joining me, listening to me. And I really hope that something that I say today, something that I share with you today, will help you become a higher, fuller expression of who you're capable of becoming. So, in case you've never watched journal entries and you're wondering, Cassim, why are you doing journal entries? Let me tell you a little bit about why I started this series. I very much believe that in life, in order for a guy to basically consider himself a success, that he has to have a successor. And the reason why I believe this is because if every single thing that you've learned in your life, if every single thing that you've acquired over your lifetime, you do not pass it on to somebody else, all of that stuff will die with you. You know, I realize probably more than other people that the truth of the matter is most of us, we're not wealthy, like have millions of pounds, so that we can leave an inheritance to our children, or our family, or our brothers, or our cousins, or our aunties, or our neighbor. Most of us are not CEOs of companies where we can position people and use our influence to be able to help people rise higher. Most of us don't have power in most of our life, right? We don't have huge influences in our life. So the truth of the matter is that most of us in life, the reality is we don't have a lot. But what we all do have and all do possess is we all have knowledge, we all have skills, we all have experience, we all have our insights. And what I believe we, as a male, we should be doing is to strive to become the highest version of who we're capable of becoming. We should find somebody in our life who we can mentor, who we can pass all this knowledge, all this insight, all these refined philosophies onto them so that they can be the torchbearers for our life, so that they can take what we've started, so that they can take what we've learned and take it to a completely different height. I don't know how many people, I may be wrong here, but of course there's always an exception to every rule, but I would say that the great majority of us, we want the next generation to do better than us. We want our children to do better than what we did. We want our brothers and sisters to be happier than we were, to be more successful than we were. And so I believe that in order to do that, we've got to be able to share some things with them that I believe will be able to perhaps be stepping stones. It doesn't mean that they have to follow it literally to the point, but it can be stepping stones to pointing them in the right direction. So my hope is that with these journal entries that I'm sharing with you, you will go and start your own journal entries. You will go and start writing down what you believe, what you stand for, what is important to you, what have you learned, what does it take to be successful, what does it mean to be disciplined, how can somebody achieve discipline. Maybe you're somebody who's an amazing cocktail maker, and you've learned and you've mastered the craft of cocktail making. Wonderful. Write it down, and when you find somebody, or you see somebody who has a passion for cocktails, mentor them. Give them the book as a present of everything that you've learned. You've got all those fundamentals, you've got all of those principles. Give it to them and let them rise even higher than you've ever risen. Now, part of this, and I think this is, I guess, one of the first things that I want to share with you today, is in order to actually start journaling, in order to even begin to think in terms of, let me help somebody else go higher than me, there is a certain maturity, a certain wisdom that you have to acquire. Because most of us, the reality is that why would we help somebody else? Why would we want other people to do better than us? And I know some of you are listening to this and you're saying, well, Cassim, that's a bit silly. Most people are not like that. But the truth of the matter is, well, if you don't believe that most people are like that, how many people do you know who are mentoring somebody? How many people do you know in your life who are coaching someone? How many people do you know in your life who are pushing somebody else to be better than them, to reach higher new heights? They're using their position, they're using their power, they're using their knowledge, they're using their principles to help somebody else go to levels that they could never themselves reach. I think that the answer to that question will be, Cass, I don't really know anybody. And part of the reason why that is because there is a maturity and a wisdom that you have to have in order to actually start being of service to people instead of being in service. The reality is, most men, we ask, what are you going to do for me? Not, what can I do for you? To begin to refine your wisdom, one of the philosophies that you have to refine is that you need to start thinking in terms of, what can I do for the next generation? How can I make it easier for them to rise? What resources can I build up for them so that when they come behind me, they can go to heights that they could never have even dreamt of before? That's how you've got to start thinking. I love something that J.F. Kennedy once said. J.F. Kennedy, in his inaugural speech, said, "Do not ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." As a leader, as somebody who wants the next generation to rise and soar and be winners, you've really got to develop this mentality of being of service, not being in service. So, now, what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about 3 different things that I journaled about this today. Number 1 is I want to talk about making a commitment to yourself. I want to also talk about the path to the dark side. And the third thing that I want to talk about is about the importance of figuring out what your purpose is, figuring out what your mission is, figuring out why you are here. So, let's begin with the first thing that I was journaling about. So this week or I should rather say last week, one of the things that I journaled about was that most guys have made a commitment to everybody and everything else but themselves. You know, I was thinking that one of the hardest things that I've had to do in my life is to learn a skill, which is the skill of successful people. Or I should say a skill of successful people, which is to say no. I love something that I once heard Steve Jobs say. Steve Jobs said that, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said. He basically said that most people believe that in order to get more stuff done, that you've got to do more stuff. But he said that's not really true. He said to actually get more stuff done, you need to do less stuff, but actually finish it. See, it's important that you just get what I've just said. See, this is what Steve, and I'm paraphrasing it, do not quote me on exactly what he said. This is what Steve Jobs said. This is a man who basically came up with the Apple computer, the Mac, all of that. He said that most people believe that in order to be more productive, to get more stuff done, that you have to be doing everything. You've got to do this and this and this and this and this. He said, no. Actually getting more done isn't about doing that. Getting more done is about doing less stuff and actually finishing it. And one of the things that I realized in my life, and I think is part of the reason why I was such a failure at the beginning of my life, was that whilst I did a lot of things, and if you know me personally in my own life, you will know I'm a very productive person. I have usually I'm doing 6, 7, 8 different things all at once. And at the beginning, and I'll probably say up until from age 16, up until age 24 or 25, I never really finished anything. And one of the things that I would ask you to consider and ask yourself is, how much stuff do you actually finish? How committed are you actually to anything? Because what I've realized in life is, particularly for men, is that we will commit to every single other thing in our lives except for the commitment to ourselves. And ultimately, the only person who can produce results in our life, who can get us to where we want to get to, who can be able to help and influence and be able to contribute, is us. And yet we spend more time on anything and everything else apart from ourselves. I love something that I once heard Jim Rohn say. Jim Rohn said that a lot of people, and again I'm paraphrasing what he said that most people work hard, but they don't work hard on themselves, they work hard on their job. Jim Rohn said that if you work hard on your job, you can make a living. He said if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. A lot of you guys who are listening to this, you've made a commitment to watch football every single Saturday. You will never miss a game. You've made a commitment to play on a Wednesday and you will always be there whether it's raining, it's snowing, you're feeling shit. You will turn up to that team. Many of you have made a commitment to watch the latest program on Netflix. Many of you have made a commitment to help everybody else in your life out if they're feeling like shit, if they need backup, if they need money. But you've never made a commitment to yourself. You've never made a commitment to improve your attitude. You've never made a commitment to improve your heart, your kindness, your soul, your empathy. You know, it's funny that one of the things that I struggled a lot with in my life is forgiving myself. Many of us have a harder time forgiving ourselves than we have forgiving other people. Many people in our lives will hurt us, they'll betray us, they'll do things that are bad to us, and we will forgive them. But we will refuse to forgive ourselves. The amount of you who are listening to this, and I don't know who this is meant for, but clearly this is destined. There is somebody who's listening to this, and one of the things that I want to share with you, because this is relevant to you, is the way that you treat yourself and the commitment that you have for yourself is a joke. Is the only way really that I can explain it. If you spoke to yourself, you spoke to other people the way that you speak to yourself, you'd have no friends. Everybody would think you're a dickhead. Everybody would think you're an arsehole. You would be a horrible human being. And yet you speak to yourself like that every single day. You don't look after yourself. You don't look after your mental health. You don't look after you. You don't go after your dreams. You don't ever believe in yourself. You don't believe in your ability to figure things out. You don't commit ever to anything. You never actually do that. You never raise your hand and say, I don't want to do that. This is the thing that I actually want to do. And my question to you is, when are you going to hit a breaking point? When is enough going to be enough? When are you going to just keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving to everybody else in your life? You give to your mum, you give to your friends, you let people borrow money from you, you always turn up to if somebody says to you, can you come to this festival? You turn up to the festival. When are you actually going to spend some time on your dreams? When are you going to spend time on what you want to do? Will anybody in your life ever actually know that who you were? One of the things that I journaled, and I think I talked about it last week, is that most of us lads, nobody actually knows who we are. Nobody actually knows what we believe. Nobody in our life actually knows what we stand for. Nobody actually knows what we will or will not do. Can you believe that? And some of us, we play football every single Saturday. We watch Saturday football every single week. We watch it on Sunday. We do everything for everybody else, and we're committed to everything else in our lives but us. Can you honestly say to me, Cass, you're chatting shit. I am really committed to myself. In fact, Cassim, if you followed me around for a month, and I didn't know that you're following me around, bit creepy, Cass, but whatever, we'll go with it, you would see that the majority of my life is spent looking after myself. Because I understand, Cass, that there is a reason why when you're on a plane and they say to you at the beginning, before the flight takes off, they say to you that when we're in an emergency, in case of an emergency, put your own mask on first. Do not try to put other people's masks on. Put your mask on first before you try saving other people. Cassim, I understand the significance of that. That's why I understand that in order to love other people, I spend loads of time on myself. I spend loads of time working out myself. You know what, Cass? I do one of those exercises that you talk about where every single morning I go to the mirror and I say 3 things that I like about myself. Do you know what, Cassim? Every single morning I wake up and I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. Because I realize, Cassim, that I cannot inspire other people. I can't bring positive energy into other people's space if I don't have it. I was saying to a girl the other day that I said to her, you seem really sad today. And she said, well, why does everyone keep saying that to me? And I said to her, why do you think that people keep saying that to you? And I said to her, let me ask you this question. If you take an orange and you squeeze the orange, what usually comes out of it? She said, well, orange juice, Cass. Orange juice comes out of it. Okay. And then I said to her, okay, if you take a lemon and you squeeze the lemon, what comes out of it? And she said, lemon juice. And then I said to her, if I squeezed you, what would come out of you? What are you presenting to the world? I wonder how many of you are listening to this and you think that you're positive and you think you're a good person, yet your aura, the energy that you bring into other people's space is horrible. It's toxic. It violates people's spaces. You don't come forward with a positive energy and a positive space. Your face is not. I remember I was listening to a woman called Tony. God damn it, I can't remember her surname, but it's a really famous writer. Her name is Tony something. And she was talking about the fact with parents, and she was talking about this. She said, as a mother, I used to always ask myself, when children walk into a room, when they see me, do they light up? She talked about the fact that a lot of parents, particularly parents who have teenagers, when they go into their teenager's space, they don't come there with a good intention. They don't come there with an energy of, how are you? I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you. What can I do for you? How is your mental health? How can I serve you? How can I help you reach your dreams? What they come into the teenager's space with is, you should be doing this. Why haven't you done that? Why haven't you done this? Why is this untidy? The energy is toxic. And I'm wondering whether you've made a commitment to yourself to bring positive energy into other people's space, to look after yourself. I love this metaphor that I was writing in one of my books, where I talked about the fact that you want to think of your life as like a cup and a saucer. So if you think of a cup, like posh people, or like, affluent families, or like, upper class families, when they have tea, they usually have like a saucer and a cup on top of it. And what I said is, you want to fill your life, which is a cup, which is you. You want to fill yourself with love, with passion, with knowledge, with skills, with wisdom, with insight. And that is for you. Everything that falls off the saucer is for other people. Some of you who are listening to this, you're empty. You've let everybody drink from your saucer, and you've not continued to fill yourself up. In fact, if we looked at your life and we went back in time to the last 2 years, and we looked at how much time you spent going to workshops that improve your attitude, we would find that you've gone to none. We read books on that improve your relationship, that improve your empathy, that improve your mindset. None. We look at workshops. If we looked at your YouTube history, bearing in mind that basically there is a YouTube video for basically everything today. If we looked at your YouTube history, there would be no history there of anything that is important to you. Nothing. Nothing about your dreams, nothing about what you value, nothing. My question to you is, if you died tomorrow, what would we be writing about your life? Who even were you? Does anybody know who you were? Does anybody know what you stood for? I'm asking you that if you're listening to this and you haven't made a commitment to yourself, please begin. Make a commitment to look after yourself. Some of you are literally you're trying to help everybody out to the degree that you're so stressed yourself that it's making you ill. It's ridiculous. You're helping your mum, you're helping your brother, you're helping people at work, you're helping your sister, you're helping your colleagues, you're helping your best friend. You don't even have time to eat. You don't have time to go to the gym. You don't have time to meditate. You don't have time to follow your dreams. You can't even think about going to a workshop. You don't have time to do it. In the next 6 months, I challenge you to make a commitment to actually look after yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to end up like the saucer, which is empty, and you're going to get to the point where you become resentful and start saying this kind of a thing. When will I get mine? Why does everybody in my life always ask for everything, and I give and I give and I give to everybody and I help everybody else, and no one ever helps me? When I'm in need, no one ever helps me when I'm in need. No. Let me ask you this question. When was the last time that somebody actually asked you how you were doing, how you were feeling, what you are going after, what your dreams are? If the answer to that is, Cass, I honestly can't remember, your cup is running empty. You've got to make a commitment to fill yourself back up. So that's the first thing that I was thinking about this week. The second thing that I was thinking about, that I hope adds some value to you this week, is I was journaling about the path to the dark side. Many of you will know that one of the questions that I study is how can you be successful without ending up divorced, without ending up killing yourself, without ending up stepping on everybody to become successful. And when you become successful, not ending up turning into a dick or turning into some crazy person. Like Michael Jackson, like people like Whitney Houston, right? They had it all. Family, friends, fame, success, and yet they commit suicide. And I was like, why do people do that? So one of the things that I found, in order to answer that question, one of the things that I had to do is I had to go to the dark side of life. Because in order to understand the good, you have to also understand bad. Because you can't really know what good is unless you understand what bad is. And in that quest, I found that there were these... Basically, I studied killers, rapists, murderers, abductors, people who were really at the darkest parts of life. And I found some common denominators. And I wanted to share them with you because I wanted you to really think about whether any of these are starting to emerge in your life. Why do I say this? I say this because many of us don't realize that we are all one mistake away from being homeless. One decision away from pissing off our miss and missus and getting to the point where she's leaving us. Most of us don't understand that we are one decision away to losing our job, which puts us in a position where we can't pay our mortgage. Many of us think that we're safe. You're not safe. Loads of things happen to people where they think they're secure. They have an amazing job, they've got everything together, then there's a market crash and they lose their job. Right? Talk to people who were here in the 2008 recession. They were secure, they had amazing jobs, they had great income, and then all of a sudden this crash happened and people are losing literally hundreds of thousands of pounds of their house price, even though they thought they had it together, right? So one of the things that I realized is that you want to be very, 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 very careful to not allow for there to be a build-up of some of these things that lead to the dark side. And you'll see what I mean in a minute, because they're not that difficult to actually emerge in your life. So, number one, constant betrayal. Now, You may think, well, Cassim, when you talk about betrayal, you think about people betraying me. Actually, no. When I talk about betrayal, I mean the betrayal of yourself. You know that you should be doing and being disciplined and doing certain things, yet you don't do them. You know that really you're in a job and they're asking you to do stuff that you know is against your values and your morals, yet you do them. You're like, well, Cassim, it's just one time. Yeah, but Cassim, that time it didn't count. Do you see how it's a very slippery road? It's one time. But then one time it happens again, and then it happens again, and then it happens again. How many people in your life have asked you to borrow money and they've only said it once, and then they've asked you again, and then they've asked you again, and then they haven't been able to repay it back, and then you've asked them for the money, and then it's like, do you see how it can build up very, very, very quickly? So I would ask you to really look at betrayal. How much are you betrayal are you receiving in your life? Here's another one: bitterness. Bitterness goes something like this: I forgive you, but I've forgiven, but I haven't forgotten. Right? It's where you break up with a girl or you break up with a boy, but instead of allowing them to live and be happy for them. So, for example, I remember when I was in my last relationship, recently I saw my ex and she was with another guy. And in my heart, I was like, do you know what? I'm happy for her. I know that obviously she's not with me, and I know that I would ideally have loved to make it work, and ideally wish, we could have been amazing together. But I'm glad that she's found somebody in her life who can make her happy. I'm glad that even though we were together for a certain chapter of our life, that it was amazing, that we had great memories. And yeah, of course, we didn't manage to become successful, and we didn't manage to be together for like 50 years. But I'm grateful for the time that we spent together. Where you don't want to get to is a position where you break up with somebody, you delete all the photos that you've ever had of them, you throw away absolutely everything, you disregard and basically refuse to accept that you will even ever together. Because it's like that betrayal and that bitterness. I remember it's not good for you. I remember something that Nelson Mandela once said. It was very, very, very influential in my life. Nelson Mandela said that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die first. I wonder if you're listening to this and you're drinking poison, because some of you who are listening to this, the people who you want to come and apologize to you are dead. The people who you want to come and apologize to you have no idea that you're even angry. They have no idea. And it almost irritates you that they're happy and they're moving on and they're living their best life and they were out last weekend, and you see them posting amazing pictures on Instagram and Facebook and their thingy story, Snapchat story. It almost infuriates you. And they have no idea. That's why they say that forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is about releasing yourself from them. I wonder if you're bitter in your life. And an even bigger question is, if you continue being bitter, how is it going to affect some of the other areas in your life? I don't know, something for you to think about. Now let's run through a few more of these faster. The desire to get even or have revenge. A sense that the world is against you. The lack of respect for authority. Having extremist influences. Let's stop here because this is important. We become the average of the 5 people who we spend most of our time with. I think most people can agree with that. If 5 of your mates smoke, the chances of you smoking at some point are high. It doesn't mean that you will smoke, but the chances of you smoking are high. If 10 of your friends do Mandy, the chances of you doing Mandy are high. If 10 of your friends are millionaires, the chances of you becoming a millionaire are high. There's no guarantee, but there's a high chance. If 10 of your friends are runners, I'm telling you that the chances of you becoming a runner are high. If 10 of your friends all live on council estates, the chances of you living on a council estate are high. It doesn't mean that you will, but they're high. If 10 of your friends, whenever they go out, they go to the casino afterwards, the chances of you going out and then going to the casino afterwards are high. My question to you is, who's influencing you? Who in your life is influencing you? Somebody. You cannot honestly possibly think that everything that you do is your own choice and no one is influencing you in any way. To think so would be naive. Who is influencing you? I remember my teacher, not a teacher, sorry. I used to have a boss, a guy called George Steedman. And George Steedman once said to me, Cassim, if you ever want to look at how your life is going to turn out, look at people who are on the same path of you as you, but are already 10 years ahead of you. Look at the people around you. Look at what they're doing. Because people who behave in a certain way will end up in a certain way. So, for example, if you have somebody who at the moment, they work for Tesco's and they've moved from Tesco's and they've gone to become a supervisor. From a supervisor, they've become a manager. You can see that there is a pattern which is beginning to emerge, right? My question is, what pattern is beginning to emerge in your life? If we look at your life, would we look at you failed at this job because you say the boss was bad? You failed at this other job because you say the customers were bad? You failed at this job because you say it was in the wrong place? Can you see a pattern is beginning to emerge? So basically, we can look ahead and forecast. Funnily enough, there's a book that I'm going to be writing about lessons that I've learned after 12 years in the hospitality industry. And one of those is I talk about forecasting. Forecasting means that in like the hospitality industry, you can predict what the sales are going to be based on what they've been the last 3 years. Question, based on the people around you and the people who are influencing you, where are you going to be in 10 years? So in 10 years, we're going to be, if you're listening to this in 2020, we're going to be in 2030. If you're 25 today, you're going to be 35. Question, where are you going to be at 35? Look at the people around you and then look at the people who are doing similar things but are 10 years ahead, and you'll see where you're going to end up. Where are you going to end up? I don't know, something for you to think about. Rage. Rage is another one. Here's another one, the thirst for power. Manipulation of others through fear, isolation, and exposure to other people's secrets. Let me just touch a little bit on rage. One of the biggest things that I hear women talking about when it comes to their partners, their men, is that women talk a lot about, he gets angry all the time, Cass. He just gets angry out of nowhere. He just snaps. I studied a lot of men who had murdered their wives and their children. And the common word that connects all of them is that word, rage. Whenever I'd watch like a documentary about somebody who'd killed their wife or something like that, there was like three themes. Number one, there was that the fact that the woman usually used the children to basically say like, you're never going to see our children, or the woman the other one was an affair. There's like three things that are common: rage, an affair, and the use of children. Those three things basically usually are connected whenever you find that a man murdered his wife. You will always find those three things. And I'm telling you, I studied hundreds of people who murdered their wives. So those three things are always present. You would hear the mother or the brother or whoever talk about the father. He used to get into a rage. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is to begin to master your emotions. Master them, and master them quick. Men, we do not look at our emotions. We don't manage them. We don't understand that there are over 2,000 freaking emotions. And the main ones that we use are angry, pissed off, smashed, orgasming. I think that's it. Buzzing. Buzzing, another one? That's kind of the main emotions that lads use. There's 2,000 other emotions, lads. And if you want to connect with your missus and you want to reach deeper levels of love and intimacy, you're going to have to expand your vocabulary of emotions so that you can reach places in her soul and her spirit that your current emotional vocabulary cannot reach. I don't know, just something for you to think about, that I was journaling about. The last thing that I was journaling about that I wanted to share with you, and we've actually run over time, but I'm going to continue if you're finding this useful, is I wanted to talk about why you're here. Because I've got to tell you guys that whenever I look at the question, why is it that some people are happier than other people, this question of purpose or this point, or this space of purpose comes up time and time and time and time again. There is a direct correlation between how happy you are and knowing why you're on this planet. And so my question to you is, why are you here? I thought that I would share a couple of things with you that I wrote down as to why you're here. Because many of you are listening to this and you have no idea. You don't even think you know the reason why you're here. But actually, whether you realize it or not, you have a reason why you're here. You're just probably not conscious of it. Some people, the reason why you're here is because of the Big Bang. Some people, why you're here is because of you're a child of God. Or you're an accident, right? Or you're a child of love, or whatever it is, right? You may not even realize it, but you have a philosophy about why you're here. And that philosophy is driving your life. And what I'm going to say to you is, if you change the reason why you're on this planet, everything in your life changes. So I'm going to give you a couple of things that I wrote down as to why I believe human beings were here. And then you can, you can make your mind up. Maybe it might be useful for you. One of the things that I wrote down is that there is something that the universe needed in order to function, largely related to our capacity for empathy, creativity, connection, and love. When I looked at animals and all the different organisms on this planet, I found that the only species which we, as far as I can tell, had the capacity for love and empathy and creativity and connection were humans. In fact, actually, if you look at what has allowed us to, as Homo sapiens, to live for this long and to thrive, it's our ability to love each other, our ability to think creatively, the fact that we can take a tree and make it into a table, the fact that we can take a metal and turn it into a plane, right? It allows us to connect and be able to expand and grow, right? Our universe. And I wonder whether you realize that you are part of that. I wonder whether you realize that the universe needed you because there are no accidents. Everything on this planet is connected in some way. The fish need the water. Humans need trees, right? The bees need the honey so that they can produce the pollen. Everything in the universe seems to be connected. So my point to you is, clearly you must be connected to the universe. There must be something about you that is special, right? There must be and I would say to you to consider that maybe something that you don't think is that amazing is the reason why you're here. I don't know, just it's just something that I was thinking about. I was also thinking about the fact that we are a vessel of hope. We're here to raise others, to protect and to build. It would seem to me that we are torchbearers, that we're being used to take the universe to its next metamorphosis. What I'm saying to you is that you, in fact, let's skip that one. Let me give you another one because I want to give you as many of these that I can. Part of the reason why we're here is to relieve suffering. I know people who absolutely their mission is to stop other people from hurting. That's why they're counselors. That's why they become doctors. You know, there are people who want to stop the suffering of dogs. There are people who want to stop the suffering of sheep, of lamb, of different animals. Some people want to relieve the suffering of cancer patients. I wonder whether the reason why you're here is to relieve the suffering of somebody. There is something when you think about this thing, it infuriates you. It makes you angry. It makes you lose your plot because you're like, somebody has got to do something about this. Why is it that kids are in foster care? Why is it that people cannot seem to be able to cure this cancer thing? Why is it that children are born and they can't even live till they're 5 years of age because of whatever? And maybe that's your job. Some people, you relieve people through relief. I was recently studying Logan Paul, and Logan Paul said that his purpose on the planet is to relieve people momentarily through entertainment, to distract people from the pains that they may be going through in their life. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, obviously, to relieve people from some of the problems and the pains that they may be going through in their life. And that's why he makes all the videos, and that's why he makes all the vlogs and all the funny clips, because he wants to relieve people. I remember I was listening to Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey said that the reason why he became a comedian is because he wanted to relieve his mum, because his mum had a lot of suffering. I cannot remember what exactly she had, but you can Google it. But she had a degenerative disease, and he wanted initially to relieve her suffering. Maybe that's your thing. I don't know. It's something for you to think about. I believe that one of the reasons why we might be here is that the world cannot exist without balance. And that one of our jobs is to level out an area of life, whether that be childcare, swimming, football, eyes. We're here, and part of the reason why we're here is to keep the fight between good and evil. Some of you who are listening to this, you have this desire to stop people from being bullied. You know, let me explain to you why I said this point. I have this really strong desire to make the black people be seen in a positive light. Because I recognize that a lot of people don't see black people and have never met black people and have never seen the good side of black people. So one of the reasons why I am the way that I am, I'm positive and I try to be a light for other people, is that I wanted to ensure that when you meet or you see a black person, that I was a version of a black person that leveled out any negative people, any negative black people you'd ever seen. So the way that I wanted to live my life is that if you see 10 black boys are in gangs and you see on the BBC News, I wanted to be so loving, so kind, so empathetic to you that my love and my empathy and my passion overrides the 10 black guys who you've just seen are involved in criminal activity. Does that make sense what I mean by that? I don't know whether that makes sense. But that's part of the reason why I'm so driven. That is part of my mission, my purpose on this planet. To level out, before I die, I want to make sure that my generation sees black people in a good light. That you see, like, in my head, the way that I think about it is I want people to get to the point where they hear somebody talking about black people in a bad way, and they say this, but hold on a minute. I know this guy Cass, and he's not like that. I know this black guy Cass, and Cass isn't even like that. Do you see what I mean? That is the kind of mission and the balance that I wanted to live my life from. Something, I don't know. Maybe you agree, you disagree. I just thought it was something for you to think about. So, but to finish and conclude this point, it's really, really important that you define the reason why you're here. Because whether you realize it or not, in your life, you are being driven by some kind of purpose. Your purpose might be to just survive today. Your purpose might be to relieve the suffering of somebody. Your purpose might be to balance out an arena of life. Right? One of the purposes that I heard Michael Phelps talk about, Michael Phelps said that I want to be the first swimmer to commercialize swimming, so that swimming is shown in the Olympics. Many of you don't even realize swimming was never shown in the Olympics. It wasn't a sport that would be shown at the Olympics. But Michael Phelps took the sport to such a level that one of the big Olympic spectator events that is shown on whenever the Olympics are on is swimming. I wonder why you're here. Have you ever even thought about that question? Why are you here? Have you thought that maybe the reason why you're here is to help other people? Is to take on the pain of other people? I don't know. I just encourage you. I was just thinking about this because the reason for me why I exist, my belief and my purpose is to help men become the highest, fullest expression of who they're capable of becoming. My job on this planet is to help as many men as I can reach wisdom, reach their full capacity, become everything that they desire to become. So when you look at my videos, when you look at my workshops, when you look at the books that I read, all of it is orientated around how can I help men? How can I help a brother get a girlfriend? And so, I mean, that's going to be in like a year's time. But one of the things that I'll be doing is I'll be interviewing people for you and bringing them on so that you lads can see, how do I get a girlfriend? How do I overcome an issue where my missus is pregnant, but I don't want to have a baby? Right? All of that is going to come because that is my mission on this planet. My question to you is, why are you here? Why are you here? Because I'm telling you, there is a reason why you're here. And you may not even realize that you're being driven by it. Something for you to think about. So that is what I wanted to share with you, and I was journaled about this week. But what have you been journaling about? What insights have you had this week? Maybe you thought of something and you thought, actually, Cass, I'll tell you what. I was thinking that success, actually, the quickest way to become successful is like this. Have you written it down? You thought, I'll tell you what, Cassim, if I was coaching this person in this area on confidence, this is what I would do. And you've taken those points, those principles, and those keys, and you wrote them down. Because at some point, you're going to give them to your children. You're going to give them to your nephews. You're going to give them to your godchildren. You're going to give them to the next door neighbor's kid. When he's being bullied, you're going to go to him and say, look, when I went through bullying, this is what I wrote about it. Well, when your friend's son comes to you because they respect you, when your best friend's son comes to you because he respects you and says to you, you seem to be really good at your career. How did you do it? That you have principles that you've written down and say, well, I struggled at a certain point in my life where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I wrote it down many years ago. Let me show you the diary and we'll go through it. Imagine being able the kind of person who could do that for somebody. I don't know. Just thinking about it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this week's journal entries has been useful. Now, I've been told to ask you to like and subscribe to the channel on my YouTube channel, and if you like this, to share it. That's what I've been told that I need to say. So there we go. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all the usual stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you in next week's episode. Bye for now.